This is Citizen Live at RWANDA. Very good afternoon and thank you for joining us. I'm Hussein Mohammed. Now, the Coalition for Reforms and Democracy, CORD, maintains its quest for a national referendum is on track, and a committee to formulate the referendum question will be unveiled soon. The leaders who spoke in Mombasa during an iftar dinner hosted by Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho also decried the rising insecurity at the coast. Alex Kubasu tells us more.
The leaders of the Coalition for Reforms and Democracy CORD insist there is no turning back as far as their calls for a national referendum to address over a dozen key issues is concerned. The march, they say, is progressing rapidly and is unstoppable.
Tukasema mlango wa mazungumzo sasa umefungwa. Sasa ni njia ya kwenda referendum. Na tutawaomba ndugu zetu wa pwani, kila mmoja wenu ajitokeza weke sahihi. Tunahitaji sahihi 1,000,000. Mamlaka ya nchi iko kwa nyinyi wananchi.
Tumesema sasa tutaweka kamati maalum ambayo itaandika swali. Yale maswali tunaelekea naye kwa kura ya maoni. Na tutatafuta masahihi 1,000,000. Nataka 1,000,000. Ili tuonyeshe kwamba tuna akili na akili ni mali.
The leaders, who were speaking during an iftar evening meal to break the fast by Muslims hosted by the county government of Mombasa, decried the runaway insecurity in the region.
Kila mara ikifanyika wanasema tutawafuata mpaka tutawapata. Hakuna jiri hata moja tutawacha bila kufukuliwa. Sasa wamefukua mawe mingi, hakuna chochote wamepata.
The recent war of words between the county governor Joho and the Mombasa County Commissioner Nelson Marwa drew sharp reactions here.
Na mimi siwezi kubali kubabaishwa. Na kwanza watu wadogo kama kina Marwa. Marwa ni mtu mdogo sana. Wacha Marwa. Yule mtu ambaye mwandika kazi Marwa pia yeye ni mtu mdogo sana.
Ugatuzi tunataka kuona kama inafanya kazi. Hatutaki kuona kama gavana amechaguliwa na wananchi hapa na nyuma yake mweka mtu mwingine ati county commission. Kufanya nini? Ati anavaa uniform kama askari. Hatutaki mambo ya county commissioner. Tunataka kuona kama katika kila county yule ambaye anasimamia ni gavana pekee.
And given the recent political shift by a section of leaders elected through CORD-affiliated parties that saw the said leaders warm up to Jubilee Alliance, CORD leaders in the region fired warning salvos.
Mambo ya kubembelezwa na pesa za State House wakati umekwisha.
Sisi hatuogopi kuwa katika upinzani kama kuna mbunge yoyote, seneta yoyote, governor yoyote katika Coast Province ambaye anajiamini kwamba yeye sasa ameshikana na Uhuru na Ruto, na mpatia challenge awache CORD akajaribu kwenda kutafuta kiti, tumuonyeshe uume.
Nataka niwaambie, tumekaa kwa muda mrefu, hatujafanya kampeni, hatujajipima nguvu za kisiasa. Kama wewe unajisikia mwanaume, andika resignation, enda utafute mandate mpya kwa chama ambacho unachokitaka, utuachie sisi CORD yetu, uje ujue kindumbo cha siasa ni nini.
CORD's committee to formulate the referendum question is expected to be unveiled in the coming few days. Alex Kubasu for Citizen Live at 1.
Well, the Kenya National Union of Teachers has given Education Cabinet Secretary Jacob Kaimenyi 7 days to name new TSC commissioners, failure to which the union may consider industrial action. KNUT Secretary General Wilson Sossion says teachers have been forced to suffer as the Teacher Service Commission cannot address their problems. The commission are not fully constituted as required by law. Currently, there are only 3 commissioners instead of the required 9. And Sossion says teachers with disciplinary cases are among the most affected as their cases take as long as 16 months, yet the TSC Act requires such cases to be handled within 3 months. We'll have pictures to that story in a short while. Meanwhile, Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Felix Koskei has given the contractors working on the 5.4 shillings irrigation scheme in Migori until December this year to complete the first phase of the project. Work on the irrigation scheme, which covers slightly over 9,000 hectares, began in 2012 and is behind schedule. However, not much has been accomplished 2 years after the project's inception, with allegations emerging that at least 700 million shillings meant for the project have been misappropriated. Now, once complete, the Lower Kuja irrigation scheme is expected to boost the area's food security and generate 3 billion shillings in revenue annually. Meanwhile, 20,000 families who are relocated from the irrigation scheme area are yet to be fully compensated.
The government is losing a lot of money, because a contractor designs something small to fit whatever he wants and write a report to the supervisor to come and tell you. That is something we're not going to allow here in Nyatike.
I want to assure the county government, led by the governor and the MP, that all those issues will be sorted out and the project will be on course immediately.
Now, further afield, Israel has approved an Egyptian proposed deal that will halt the week-old Gaza shelling war. But the Palestinian territory's dominant Hamas Islamists treated the news cautiously, saying they had not been consulted by Cairo. Abdurrahman Abdullahi reports.
Egypt launched an initiative yesterday to halt fighting between Israel and Palestinian militants, proposing a ceasefire to be followed by talks in Cairo on settling the conflict, in which Gaza authorities say more than 180 people have died. Hamas, which controls Gaza, has rejected the plan as surrender of sorts. Hamas' armed wing has instead vowed its attacks will increase in ferocity and intensity, but Israel accepted Egypt's proposals.
We said all along that our goal is to bring sustained peace and security to the citizens of Israel and to end the rocket fire on our cities. If the rocket fire nevertheless continues, if Hamas rejects the Egyptian proposal, we of course are ready to continue our operation, to intensify operation as need be, to protect our citizens.
Israel said there had been 2 cross-border launches overnight that caused no damage and that it had bombed 25 sites in Gaza. Palestinian medical officials said 63-year-old man and 52-year-old woman were killed, bringing the enclave death toll to more than 182. The UN estimates that 3/4 of these were civilians. An estimated 1,400 Palestinians have been injured. At least 4 Israelis have been seriously injured since the violence flared, but no one has been killed in Israel. Many experts say there is no guarantee the ceasefire proposal will work. Abdurrahman Abdullahi for Citizen TV.
Now, Rwanda boasts of being the country with the lowest road accidents in East Africa, despite having one of the trickiest motoring terrains in the region. The explanation for this largely lies in the strict discipline practiced by its motorists and a robust implementation of relevant traffic regulations. Alex Kubasu was in Kigali and filed this story of Rwanda's efficient road system.
For the first-time visitor to Rwanda, the neat and orderly roads that snake through the city of Kigali are difficult to miss. Ensconced in the beautiful hills that have given Rwanda the name of a country of 1,000 hills, Kigali is breathtakingly beautiful. Having flown straight from Kenya's Jomo Kenyatta International Airport after sitting through Nairobi's crazy traffic, this is the much traffic we experienced here. And the most intriguing part was this: motorcyclists literally stopping at designated traffic lights. And what was more interesting is that all the riders and their passengers were adorned in their foolproof headgear, the helmet. This is a far cry from what in Kenya has been christened as the ride of death. Motorcyclists across the country back at home having the audacity to carelessly overtake in utter disregard of traffic rules, given the limited training some of them obtained from kangaroo schools, as well as the craze to get a quick buck. According to statistics from Kenya's National Transport and Safety Authority, NTSA, this carefree and blatant disregard of road usage rules by motorcyclists has bore very painful results. Fatalities from motorbikes between January and March of this year alone hitting 90, leaving 144 people seriously injured while 24 were slightly injured. A figure, if extrapolated to capture the entire 12 months in a year, is truly startling. Back in Rwanda, where if put simply, there are black spots at every nook and cranny of the road network here. Reason being the hilly and meandering smooth roads courtesy of the mountainous terrain. But despite all this, the number of accidents witnessed in Rwanda are by contrast relatively few.
The fact that road signs and most importantly traffic lights are adhered to here in Kigali shows the maturity with which road usage is taken seriously here in Kigali, and that has contributed in a very big way to them having some of the safest roads in Africa.
The safety measures, key among them being the national speed limits of 60 kilometers an hour, which is 20 kilometers an hour lower than in neighboring East African countries, ensuring road carnage remains on the bare minimum. A move which, according to coach drivers ferrying passengers to Kigali from Kenya and Uganda, have for a long time objected to. These concerted efforts by the Rwandese government led to the World Health Organization's 2006 African Regional Health Report, holding Rwanda high up as an example of how African countries can improve road safety. After all was said and done, we could not help but sample the rich Rwandese culture, ranging from the beautiful dance choreography to their museums, and finally visiting the King's Palace and got a glimpse of this. The royal cows that were specially kept not for beef but for milk for the king alone. Indeed, we picked up the vital lessons from the land of 1,000 hills, the gorilla kingdom. Alex Kubasu for Monday Special in Rwanda.
Now back to our top story, where the Kenya National Union of Teachers, KNUT, has given Education Cabinet Secretary Jacob Kimenyi 7 days to name new TSC commissioners, failure to which the union may consider industrial action. KNUT Secretary General Wilson Sossion says teachers have been forced to suffer as the Teacher Service Commission cannot address their problems. The commission is not fully constituted as required by law. Currently, there are only 3 commissioners instead of the required 9. And Sossion says teachers with disciplinary cases are among the most affected as their cases take as long as 16 months, yet the TSC Act requires such cases to be handled within 3 months.
And we demand that it should immediately take measures to ensure that the vacant offices of the commissioners, 5 of them, and the chair of the commission are filled within the next 7 working days. We shall declare a trade dispute in accordance with the provisions of the Labor Relations Act and the provisions of the Constitution of this country, because our rights have been infringed for far too long.
Tumesema tumechokozwa, na sisi tukichokozwa tunajitokeza. Tunataka kuwaambia hao wachokozi tuko tayari na wao, na msidhani mkafikiria hiki ni kitisho. Tunawaeleza wazi wazi leo kwamba mkitaka safari hii tuende na nyinyi, hapo mlipo tutaenda na nyinyi mpaka huko mnakotaka.
Well, Live at 1 takes a short break. Now we still have more news and sports news after the break. No FIFA Brazil, of course, today, but sports news, extensive coverage with the awesome Wahiga Moro already in studio. Stay tuned.